Stage 9. Green Island. Mr. Johnson took his class away for the week. They went to a big house called Sleepy House. Mrs. May went too. The children were excited. Sleepy House was near the sea, and there were lots of interesting things to do. Everyone enjoyed the bus. Some of these bags and cases are heavy, said Mr. Johnson. We are only here for a week. Mrs. May found a toothbrush. Whose toothbrush this is? She asked. Oh dear, said Beth. I think it's mine. Mr. Johnson showed the boys their room. You will be sleeping in here, she said. I want the top bunk, sighed Chip. No, I want the top bunk, sighed Wolf. Mr. Johnson tossed the coin. Here or tossed, he said. Mr. Johnson gave the children a map. Then he took the children for a long walk. After a while, they stopped for a rest. The children looked at their maps. Mr. Johnson showed them the place they could see. Your map's upside down, Biff, said Wolf. The thing pointed to a little island out at sea. What's that island called? He asked. Look on your maps, said Mr. Johnson. Who can tell me what the island is called? Chip and Nina knew. It's called Green Island, they said. Everyone was hungry after a long walk. When they got back, it was time for supper. The children served the food and they helped wash up. I don't like washing up at home, said Wolf, but it's fun washing up here. At night, the children were tired, but they couldn't sleep. Chip kept telling jokes and make silly noises. In the end, Mr. Johnson came. He was cross with Chip. I'll send you to bed at 6 o'clock tomorrow if I hear any more noise. The next day, the children did a beach studying. Some children worked with Mr. Johnson. They made a square on the beach and looked at every each square. They found a shell with a crab inside it. It's called a shortneck crab, she said. Some children worked with Mrs. May. They looked carefully in the rock pools. Nothing and Wolf catch a large crab. Look at this, they called. Mrs. May showed them how to hold a crab. We'll look at it, then we'll let it go, she said. Chip and Nina found a seagull. It couldn't fly. Oh dear, said Mr. Johnson. It can't fly because it has oil on its feathers, or it's hard to get off, so be careful, everyone. Mind you don't get oil on you. How did we get oil off the seagull? Asked Chip. Mr. Johnson took the children to see Miss Honey. If anyone can help the seagull, Mrs. Honey can, said Mr. Johnson. This poor old girl needs a clean, said Mrs. Honey. She looked at Nina and Chip, and so do you, she said. Oil is a terrible slope, said Mrs. Honey. You can see what it do animals and birds if it spills into the sea. It is terrible, said Mrs. May. I am having trouble getting off Chip and Nina. I felt really sorry for the seagull, said Chip. What will happen to the seagull? Asked Wolf. Its feather will be damaged, said Mrs. Honey. So first, we'll clean the oil off. Then we'll look after it for a week or two. It had to it has to get strong again, and its feather had to get better. Then we'll let it go. Mrs. Honey looked after all kinds of animals. She showed the children an otter. Then she gave it some fish. She's a sea otter, she said. I caught her Fiona. She was hurt by a boat. Now she's better. I'm going to let her go. Sea otters live on Green Island, said Mrs. Honey. If you like, you can come to the island with me and watch me let Fiona go. Mrs. Honey had a boat. There's room for everyone, so she said. If we're lucky, we may see some more sea otters. The children went across the Green Island in the boat. Miss Honey stopped a little way from the island. The children looked carefully. Sunny and Nina pointed to some rocks. I can see another otter, she said. Look, everyone. There aren't many sea otters left, said Mrs. May. So that was a wonderful thing to see. Mrs. Honey let Fiona go. The otter dive into the sea and swim across the logs. Will Fiona be all right now? asked Wolf. I hope so, said Mrs. Honey. Mrs. Honey took the boat to the other side of the island. You can get out and explore, she said. If you keep quiet, you will see all kinds of interesting seabirds. The children jumped out of the boat and went to look around the island. The children saw a small cave. They ran to see it. I wonder if it's treasure in it, called Wolf. Maybe it's a secret tunnel, said Nadine. Maybe it leads to a computer base. But when they got to the cave, they found something else. In the cave were some drums. I don't like the look of this, said Mrs. Honey. These drums have been bumped on Green Island. They are filled with toxic waste. Keep away from them, everyone, said Mr. Johnson. Why could anyone want to dump them here? asked Biff. It's hard to get rid of toxic waste, said Mrs. May. It costs a lot of money to do it safely, so people dump it. We should call the police, said Mr. Johnson. These drums can stay here, said Mrs. Honey. They could do a lot of harm to the wildlife. Sunny, Chip, and Wolf ran up to Mr. Johnson. There is a boat coming towards the island, said Chip. There are 4 people in it. I don't like the sound of this, said Mr. Johnson. Keep us offside, everyone, said Mrs. Honey. I want to see what these people are doing. The boat stopped at the island and 4 people got out. They fell some drums out of the boat and began to carry them towards the cave. There was nothing more waste on the island, said Mrs. Honey. I want everyone to run back to my boat. Don't make a sound. I have an idea. The children did what Mrs. Honey told them. They ran to the boat with Mrs. May and climbed in. I hope the boat will start, said Mrs. May. If it doesn't, I don't know what will do. Do you think those people are dangerous? asked Chip. Wolf and Chip pushed the boat out with the oars, and Mrs. May started dancing. "So far, so good," said Mrs. May. "Let's hope Mrs. Honey's idea works." "I hope Mrs. Honey and Mr. Johnson will be all right," said Wolf. Mrs. Honey's idea worked. She and Mr. Johnson had taken the other boat. The other people couldn't get off the island without it. "Hooray!" shouted the children. "They won't get off Green Island unless they swim across back." "What are you doing with our boat?" shouted the man. "Bring it back." "I will get the police to bring it back," shouted Mrs. Honey. "You can tell them why you dumped toxic waste on Green Island, girl," said the man. The police took the people off the island. "Taking their boat was a brilliant idea," said Mr. Johnson. "I'm glad we caught them," said Mrs. Honey. "And I'm glad you're with me. I couldn't have taken their boat by myself." "What an adventure," said Mrs. May. "Look at those drums of toxic waste," said Wolf. "I can't think why people would dump them where they can do so much harm. I'm glad the others will be safe on the island now," said Anina. At the end of the week, there was a party. Mrs. May played her guitar, and everyone sang songs. Mrs. Honey came. She told the children stories about some of the animals she had looked after. "But you have a best story to tell," she said. "It isn't every school trip that becomes famous." The photographer came. She made everyone in the group. Then she took a photograph. "We're going to be in a newspaper," said Wolf. "We are going to be famous." "I've never been famous before," said Chip. "I wonder what it feels like." The next day, the story of Green Island was in the newspaper. The children were excited. "I'm going to buy 3 newspapers," said Chip. "One for me, one for Mom and Dad, and one for Gran. Now I'm famous. I didn't feel any difference," said Wolf. The end.
Good job.